Hi everybody, it's Karen McLaughlin here, certified personal trainer. Here with you for my usual Tuesday at 2 Facebook Live broadcast. And today I'm going to be talking about goal setting and how to achieve goals that are actually going to get you where you want to go. And what's the difference between a process goal and an outcome goal? And which one of those is more helpful for you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. I'm going to keep today's broadcast fairly short, I think, so I'm not going to be doing one of those killer 45-minute ones. Before I jump right in, just one final reminder for you guys. Anyone who's interested in signing up for personal training sessions, my New Year's special is going to close as of Valentine's Day. So you've got 1 week left to make the decision. If you were thinking about signing up for some personal training sessions, now is a great time to do that. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel. Basically, if you buy either a 5-session or 10-session package with me, you're going to get some extra bonuses, 1 extra session with 5, 2 extra sessions with 10. So that's a really great deal. And and there's a few other goodies that go along with that, including a grocery store shopping tour with me, which is, about as much fun as you can imagine having, right? Anyway, please don't miss out on that if you were considering hiring me. You've got a week left. Okay, I'm going to post the details below when I'm done so you can go right to the page and read more about it. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to jump into today's topic, which is process versus outcome. Which type of goals are going to leave you feeling empowered and successful? I did talk about this in my very first broadcast way back at the beginning of January, when I was talking about habits, but I wanted to pull this little mini topic out and talk about it again and talk about it in a little bit more depth, because this is something that I see again and again that's holding people back from really feeling successful, and it's what tends to have them throwing in the towel and giving up on their goals, is not focusing on the right types of goals. So what I mean, let's take a typical goal. As you can probably guess, one of the biggest ones that clients come to me with is a weight loss goal. So it may be, I want to lose 20 pounds, and if they want to take that a step further, they might say, I want to lose 20 pounds by August 1st, let's say. So that's what we call an outcome goal, because your goal is basically the outcome that you want to achieve, right? The outcome that you're hoping for is that you're going to lose 20 pounds. And we're pretty much taught to focus on setting those type of goals, I think. Sometimes we're taught, to take that a step further and make what's called a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and timely. So we could take weight loss and we could do that, but at the end of the day, we're still really focused on that outcome. Another one might be, just for example, I want to be able to do 30 push-ups by June the 1st. So again, that's an outcome that you're looking to achieve. Now, the problem with these types of goals is, number one, and you're going to hate to hear this, you really don't have that much control over outcomes. This is a hard thing for us to admit as humans, because we like to feel in control of everything, but we don't have as much control as we think over outcomes. So focusing your goal around an outcome can be really frustrating, because there's a fairly good chance that something's going to happen that's going to stop you from achieving that goal, and then you feel like demoralized and discouraged, and then it just spirals downward from there, and you feel like, oh, I'm a crappy person, why can't I achieve what I want to achieve. So there's a different type of goals setting that will leave you feeling more empowered, and that's called process goals. And what that means is, instead of focusing on your outcome, say the weight loss that you want to achieve, is you identify specific daily measurable actions that are going to lead you towards that goal. So you can still have, there's nothing wrong with saying that you want to lose 20 pounds. That's not really what I'm getting at. It's just saying focusing on that as your goal is probably going to leave you feeling discouraged. Whereas if you take that goal and you identify what are the actions that I need to do day in and day out to achieve my bigger goal, that's going to leave you feeling more successful. So for example, we could brainstorm that, and there's literally dozens, probably hundreds of, I'm talking about tiny little actions that you could take that would help you towards that goal of weight loss. So it could be, I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk every day after I eat lunch at work. There could be a lot of goals around specifics as to what you're going to eat and not eat. We could go on in a lot of depth about this, but I think you get the idea. So the key here is they have to be really small and very specific, actionable things that you can commit to doing on a daily basis. Because you know what? It's a lot less intimidating to say, I'm going to go for a walk for 15 minutes every day after lunch than to say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Like, try those both out and see which one feels a lot more achievable to you. I'm pretty sure for almost everybody, saying I'm going to walk for 15 minutes after lunch feels a lot more doable than I'm going to lose 20 pounds. So that's the point here, or one of the big points. Number one, these little goals, you're going to feel a lot more confident right away that you can do them because they're a lot smaller. Like a big weight loss of 20 pounds or more, it's huge. It just feels like so big. It's like saying I'm going to make $1 million next year when you're used to making 50,000. Like it's just, it feels way too much. Especially if you've tried to achieve this goal in the past and you haven't been successful, and then it's even harder to believe that you can do it this time. So picking a little tiny goal, immediately, that feels so much more doable. And what I really like about that is, and I shared this earlier too, I think probably in the Habits broadcast that I did, was a well-known trainer named Brendon Burchard. He says that the number one predictor of people's success is that when they say, I have confidence in my ability to achieve my goal regardless of the obstacles that I'm met with. That is your number one predictor of success in anything. I have confidence in my ability to achieve my goal regardless of the obstacles. So if you just think about losing 20 pounds, you can immediately probably imagine like dozens of obstacles towards achieving that goal. But if you think about walking for 15 minutes after lunch, I'm sure you're going to think of some obstacles, because if there weren't any, you'd probably already be doing it consistently. But it's much easier to identify the obstacles for a small goal, and once you identify the obstacles, then it's much easier to figure out how you're going to overcome those obstacles. So, if you're in a work environment, and so your coworkers are maybe they're going to razz you and say, oh, don't go for a walk today, the weather's not that great anyway, let's just come sit and have a coffee with us or whatever. If you have coworkers that are like that, then you can totally predict that might happen, and then you can plan how you're going to handle that. What are you going to say to them? I mean, personally, I'd say, well, no, let's walk. Get them to come with you, right? But maybe they're really stubborn and they don't want to, and they're like, oh, it's -5 and I don't want to go outside. Well, you know what? If they don't want to join you, then Either find somebody else who will, or just say, you know what, I'm committed to my own well-being. I really like using lines like that, and I don't know, you have to find the thing that works for you, because sometimes, like, you don't want to sound snarky, but just find something that you can really stand in and own it, and even just say, you know what, I know for myself, I find it's really important for me to go for this walk. I need the mental break, and it leaves me feeling refreshed, and I do my job much better for the whole afternoon. You know, you don't really need to justify your behavior to anyone else, but most of us feel sort of somewhat socially obligated to do that. So it's much easier the more concrete you are around what you need to do and when you're going to need to do it. And the other part of this is that you can track these behaviors very easily. Another thing I shared earlier was about an app that I use called Loop Habit Tracker. I have no idea why it's called Loop, but you can just Google that, or I can link it below when we're done. And I really love it because it's super easy to use. That's always important for me because I'm not very techy and I don't like to fiddle around with stuff a lot. So when you identify your process goals, then you can really drill down on them and you can really focus deeply on them. Because it's too hard when the more abstract the idea is, like losing 20 pounds, the harder it is to really drill down and focus. I mean, we all have a basic understanding of what we need to do to lose weight, but in the moment it just feels too overwhelming. There's too many things. So what I do when I work with somebody and that is a goal, I will say, look, what are the, let's pick maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things to really focus on. Those process goals, what are you going to commit to doing daily? So maybe one is walking for 15 minutes at lunch. I mean, if you're already walking for 15, then maybe you can move to 30, but this is just the starting point. So for somebody who's not moving at all, I'd say let's start with, can you do 15? Let's do 15 minutes at lunch. And then, we could change something like eating. Let's change one thing at lunchtime. Can you commit to eating a green salad at lunch every day? And then these are very clear, concrete, specific actions, and you can really commit to them. And the thing is here that gives you the power with a process goal is you can be all in, and you really have to be all in. And it's so hard to be all in with, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, because you feel like you have to give up everything, right? Like people feel guilty about everything they're eating. They feel guilty anytime they don't move as much as they think they should. So using process goals, it gives you more that feeling of empowerment because you're making change and you're not trying to change everything at once because that's usually a recipe for disaster. So we focus in on 2, maybe 3 of these little tiny goals. And I talked about this before too, but I think most people kind of roll their eyes and they say, well, those aren't big enough actions. Those aren't big enough actions to achieve the goal that I'm hoping to, because my goal is big. But the thing is, as we tend to underestimate the power of small actions, because the potential for small actions, they have huge payoffs if you stick with them. This is how we truly can create change that sticks. So taking those 2 or 3 little actions that are new and committing 100% to those. And I'm not saying you're not going to miss a day, because everybody misses a day occasionally. Even I have a really crappy day and I miss out on one of my things that's on my habit tracker, and I'm like, I'm human, it happened. The important thing is not to beat yourself up about it. You get up the next day and then you do it. Because as you do it day after day after day, then you're finally building a concrete behavior change. It's becoming a true habit. And eventually, when you do these things over and over and over again, it's hard for a while, and then it gets easier, and then it becomes automatic eventually. And so that's why it's really powerful. These little tiny, concrete daily actions process. This is the process I need to take in order to achieve my goal. You have total control over those little choices, unless something totally catastrophic happens. But in general, you do have control over whether you walk for 15 minutes at lunch. And then say maybe you have that one day where work is truly impossible and you can't take lunch, and then are you ready to commit to saying, well, I didn't get that 15 minutes in at lunch, so now I'm going to do it later. Most of us have at least 15 minutes in our day when we could do something like that. So the point is, you can commit to it consistently, and that is how change happens over the long run, because you get those 3 little changes under your belt, and they're on autopilot, and then you can add more. And an interesting thing tends to happen is that we tend to do more than we anticipate once we commit. So the person who says, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes at lunch might find themselves walking for 20 or 30 minutes if they've got time to do that, because they're out there and they're enjoying it and they keep going. So the process goals are not intimidating. They feel truly achievable. You have confidence in your ability to do them, and that's what carries you through. And you can do this with every area of your life, not just fitness, but commit to the process. Commit to the process and those little tiny daily actions. And you have to commit to them even when 3 months, you may commit and say, yeah, I'm going to do this for 3 months and then see what happens. And then 3 months down the road, you're not seeing the outcomes that you want, and then you get discouraged. But if you're really committed, you'll keep going anyway, because eventually something has to give, and it's all part of the process. And having the discipline to commit to those little goals is probably going to subtly spill over into other areas of your life too. So don't underestimate this. Really, when you're setting a goal, whatever the big goal is, really drill down. Find those 2 or 3 little things that you can start with, that you can stick to, that you can commit to on a daily basis, and work it. Just stick with them. Keep going. And keep going until you've got them under your belt, until they're really consistent in your life. And then once those ones are consistent, then you can add more. And you'll be surprised, like some new behaviors can go from hard to easy pretty quickly, and other ones, it can be more of a struggle. So you might find that there's one of those, you picked 3 process goals, and one of them, you're rocking it consistently after the first month. Well, that's fantastic. So then add another new one in and keep going with those other 2 that you're struggling with. But you're moving forward, and you can see like that really builds your confidence, right? Even if you started with 3 and you've got one of them under your belt, it's like, look, I created positive change in my life. That's really all we want to see. For most of us, it's like feeling like we're knocking our head against the wall and not getting anywhere is the most frustrating thing in the world. So the ability to see that you created a positive change, no matter how small, it's pretty huge. And every little tiny change adds up. Every little tiny change adds up. So please, if you've got some big goals that you're working on, sit down and figure out what those little process goals are, okay? And don't pick any more than 3 at once, because from personal experience and working with other people, I find it's too much. If you pick more than that, you're going to get overwhelmed, and it's going to be hard to stick with it. So no more than 3 little tiny process goals. You can do them every day. and then go out there, focus on those. Once you've got them under your belt, pick new ones and just keep going. Rinse and repeat. That's how we create change. And anybody can do this, right? You can do it. I know you totally can. If you need help, feel free to contact me. You can email me at yourfitnessgroove@gmail.com. You can Facebook message me, leave me a comment below. However you want to do it. I really want to see you succeed with your goals. So hopefully you've got the idea now, the difference between a process and an outcome goal. And you can, if you've been trying to work that outcome goal, go home. Or if you're already home, just grab a pen and paper. Drill down, figure out what the process goals are, and get going with it. There's no time like the present, so start today. Okay? That's another key to success. And I'm probably going to talk about that one more in the future. Alright, so have a great day, everybody. Any questions, please leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday at 2.